Hi, my name is Stanislav Watson, and I'll be interviewing you today. Today is April the 13th, 2015, and we are in Miss Zabinske-Smith's office, or classroom. Let's see. Which branch did you...
I was in the Air Force.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
Not that old. Really not that. No, I went in voluntarily.
Okay. Can you give me an oversight of your military experience? Or?
I was in for 9 years. I came in May of 1989, and I stayed till around, August of 1998. I worked in the U.S. intelligence system, so I was the job's gone through many, many different changes. So when I was in, it was called Signals Intelligence Analysis Specialist, which is a 202 or a 1N4, or can't even tell you what it is anymore, but we basically collected intelligence, wrote up reports, and disseminated them to the Joint Chiefs, the White House, whoever needed them.
Awesome. Pretty crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Okay.
I have a question about that, if you don't mind. How much were you read into very classified? Did you collect a lot of classified intelligence, or?
Well, I can't really say specifically, but anything that was signals. So, cell phones weren't really big back then, but if somebody had like a mobile phone, we were mostly concerned with foreign collection. Soviet Union, I worked that for about 2 years, and then it collapsed, so we didn't have any anymore. I mostly spent time working against China. But that's what, I didn't do the actual collection that was done by other people. I just took the data, whether it be from our Morse people or our linguists, and then I took that and put it into a report, an all-source report.
So, how did you feel when all this stuff came out with Edward Snowden and all this?
I think he's a traitor.
Oh, yeah.
I worked actually, and it's funny you should bring that up because I actually worked in Hawaii. I worked at the place he supposedly helped send messages from. I know that he never saw the inside of that building. He worked at Waiwa Field Station, which is a ways away from where the actual intelligence people work. We work in what's called the tunnel, and that's down further. He never went in there. He never saw any intelligence. Can our systems do what he says? Sure, they can do it. Do we collect and have manpower? No. No. But yeah, sure, we can collect on everything. But that wasn't my job to read anything to do with Americans. And actually, I had friends who did actually sit and listen in on conversations and stuff, and they were always told that if you saw or heard English or an American voice, you just had to turn it off.
Is that right?
You can't collect on American citizens. You have to drop the call, you have to drop the tape, do whatever you got to do, take the tape off the reel if you're recording, put it in a little envelope, and send it to NSA. You can't do anything. You can sit there and listen in all you want, but you can't really say anything else other than that.
Yeah.
You can't. So
it seemed like a lot of the stuff was directed toward external, foreign.
yeah, but most of what we did was foreign. I never, actually, working in Korea even, we never ever picked up anybody American. It was always higher up Koreans or higher up Chinese, or never had to worry about Americans.
All right, I'm sorry, Stan. I interrupted my floor.
Okay. Can you tell me why you joined? Like what?
Oh, why? Sure.
Yeah.
I needed a college degree.
Awesome.
I needed money for college. My parents weren't going to pay for it. I'm glad they did, Because if I had just gone and had my parents pay for college, I would have dropped out probably first semester. I never would have made it. I had no discipline, no skills to really go and do it on my own. But the Air Force actually, when you go in and they're paying for it, you have to maintain at least a C average. If you fail a class, you owe them back the money, and it's 75%. So you actually had, I mean, it was, you wanted to do well. Otherwise, you owed them money, and you didn't want to owe them money. And the travel, I wanted to travel. So, and I got both. I got my degree, and I got to travel. So I was happy.
Awesome. Can you tell me about the first day of service? Like,
Eye-opening. I mean, we were Air Force, so they say it's lax, but it's really not. I mean, I had people yelling in your face. Firstly, not like, I mean, we came in with a brother flight. So you had one girls bus that stopped there, and you had, right behind us was our boy flight, our brother flight. And I swear they got the chewing. I mean, the girls really didn't get that much because you don't have to cut your hair, you don't really have to do. But having somebody sit there and basically yell at you, that's a unique experience. And then
it was something different from.
But I was always told that you don't talk back. My mom's family is very military, so I kind of knew what to expect when I went in. And my uncle told me, keep your head down, keep your mouth shut. You're not in the Air Force yet. When you get to the Air Force, then you can have an opinion, but until then, just nod, say yes sir, no sir, yes drill sergeant, yes, And then the Air Force isn't that big on if you call them sir, and, that's fine. So they're not going to yell at you for that. But the PT was hard because I smoked at the time, so I was going through withdrawals for 6 weeks. And just getting up doing PT, but it got me interested in running. It got me interested, in getting fit. And I just liked the routine. It was nice to have a routine.
When was there anything that helped you get through that process of basic training, or anyway? I don't know if you
having really good friends. A couple of the people I came in at the MEP Center with, they were in my flight. A couple of the girls, so that was kind of nice to have that person from Wisconsin there with you, and just somebody to hang. And we were all in the same boat, so it was like we're all going to get through this together, and we were all going to graduate. That was in our whole flight. The whole girls that I was with, we all pulled together. It was all or none. Nobody was going to drop out, and nobody was going to be washed back. Nobody was going to fail. So that was kind of got me through, was knowing that all of us were there together. Nobody was going to let the other go down.
Let's see. I guess you already answered this question with, how did you get through your training and everything. But was there anything you did regularly, or like anything you kept with you, or anything that helped you get through?
Just the routine, I guess. Just that, that motivation that you were doing something good. You were doing something good for your country. I don't know, that's what got me through most days in the military, was just knowing that it's a different type of lifestyle. Anywhere you go, you're with people, you're all there. There are little communities. Every base you go to is a little community. You all help one another. It's probably one thing I miss too, is that camaraderie, living on base, living with a group of people that you all are in together with, even though we're retired. But it's just it's a great thing to be a part of.
Awesome. Do you remember any of your instructors' names?
Sergeant English. Oh, Sergeant English. She was this little tech sergeant, woman, crew cut, just bad. Oh, she would sit there and tell us girls, if you came in looking for a husband, there's the door. I worked my way up so that, you know, you could have a place here. And I'm not going to let any of you jeopardize that. You know, get out.
Yeah.
So she was, you got to be here for the right reasons. You got to be able, you know, this is not the dating game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh boy, instructors, as far as, can't remember specific names, but I mean, I can see their faces still. Just, you know, when we got to tech school, the tech school for intelligence is very lax. And it's not like being in basic training. You go for 6 weeks, somebody's telling you, you know, yelling at you, on you, just riding you all the time. And then you get to tech school, and because our tech school was very stressful because you couldn't study in the dorms, you had to go to school to study all the time because you couldn't take your classified material out of the building. So it was more kind of lax when you were there. There wasn't a lot of pressure on you, so you could kind of sit back. And the training instructors that were there, they didn't ride you all the time on little things. They were more there just to kind of help you along and, you know, give you advice. And it was, had one of the TAs that would come out and he would sit in the smoking section with us almost every day. And I swear he bumped a cigarette off of every single one of us at one point, just going, yeah, my wife did the cigarettes. Who's going? Come on, cough it up. You can be late for PT tomorrow. Just go. There you go. Right. Yeah, a lot of, I mean, when they met us at the bus station, I had come from basic with one of my brother flight, and we had taken the bus from San Antonio to San Angelo, and we're the only ones there. We're still in this, you know, basic training mindset of, you know, just, oh, they're going to yell at us, they're going to, you know, they're going to say something about us, you know. When we got off the bus, they're standing there. First of all, these two training instructors are just sitting there by the van smoking a cigarette. They ran over, they got our bags. And we're just like, oh no, should we be carrying those? No, hop in the van. You guys want to stop at somewhere, get something to eat? We're just like, no sir. Oh, relax. This is, you know, you're out of basic now, they can't see you. Take your tie off, loosen up, sit down. We're gonna explain, you know, Goodfellow Air Force Base while we drive back. And it was just like, wow, okay. These guys are great. That was pretty much, yeah, but that's not the regular Air Force tech school. Because my husband would tell you something completely different. He went to the crew chief flight school, where it was very rigid. You were still basically in basic, and they couldn't do anything for weeks. It was, you know, same thing. But here we are just kind of walking around. We got to go off base when we wanted to. We just had curfews for the first couple weeks we were there. But it was, being intelligence, you started to see that you had a different type of lifestyle than the regular Air Force. That, you know, they weren't as tough on us. It was just like, you know, we know you have a stressful job. We know that you can't talk about anything that you do. So we're going to be a little bit easier on you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. What was that like, having to keep stuff, even from your close personal friends?
It's hard.
You can't talk about work, right? So, and what you talk about when you got home?
You start to only have friends that are in intelligence. I mean, my best friends throughout the rest of my career were all people that were in the same job, who sat next to me, who, if we started to talk in code when we were off base, like, oh yeah, remember that thing that happened, you know, that thing, we all knew what we were talking about. You start to bond, and Intel's a very small career field. So if you go different places, you start to know, like, it's the 6 degrees of separation. Oh, I was in Hawaii. Oh yeah, well then you must have ran into so-and-so. Oh yeah, I knew so-and-so back in, you know, Philippines or back this. Oh, how's he doing? So everybody just starts to be together, and it's nice because you don't have to worry about what are you talking about? Oh, I can't tell you. The thing on TV can't tell you.
Yeah.
And I was in during Desert Storm. And my dad, almost every single day, would call me up because he'd watch the briefings on TV with General Powell and everything and Schwarzkopf, and he'd be like, "Is that true?" I can't tell you. We're doing the intelligence. We're sending some of it to Sun. I can't tell you. I have no comment. And that's what they tell you is, I can neither confirm nor deny anything. I have no comment.
So then the conversations with loved ones, I would assume, were about just whatever they wanted to talk about.
Talk about, yeah. You learn other things. And my husband knows. We met when I was in Hawaii, and he knew that there was just some things I was never going to be able to talk about, and that's why I had my other friends and stuff. And
he's cool with that.
Oh yeah, he was fine. We've been married 16, 17 years now. Yeah, he's fine.
Awesome. So, where were some of the places that you traveled during your service?
Okay. The Air Force was nice enough. My first station out of tech school was Omaha, Nebraska. And from somebody from Wisconsin, thanks a lot, Air Force.
Yeah.
4 years at Awful. Offutt Air Force, that's what they call it, Awful. But to be honest, it was, you take a disappointment and you turn it into something good. And it was, because I got 3 years of college knocked off right away, because my job was a day shift job, so you could go to school at night. Then when they put me on mid shift later on, I could go during the day.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was nice to get most of my degree done there. And when I left, when I got assigned to Korea 4 years later, I had enough college done at Bellevue University that I kept in correspondence with them, and they took the stuff that I did in Korea and applied it to my degree so that I didn't have to start from scratch. But I was stationed in Korea for years, so not a lot of college was going on there, because that was basically my party time for a year. Because you don't have a car, you only have a dorm room, and really nothing to do at Osan Air Force Base in South Korea. So not a lot of college went there. That was more, let's go out, let's have a good time, let's see the sights. We did a lot of time in Seoul. We went skiing up along the DMZ. That was fun. Yeah, skiing along the DMZ. We took trips. We went down south to Jeju-do Island, which was in the news recently because that ferry that capsized between was on its way to Jeju-do Island. It's a nice long little trip. But we just got out and really spent a lot of time. I studied some Korean, got to know a little bit of Korean. Don't remember any of it now, but when you're drunk and you're single, it's great.
Yeah.
And then from Korea, the reason I took Korea was so that I could give my choice of assignments. And when I left off it, they told me, your follow-on assignment is Chick-Sands, England. I had always wanted to go to England. It was the one thing that I always wanted to do. I landed a month later after I took my time to visit family. Landed in Korea a month later. My sponsor greets me at the airport, says, I hope you weren't too dead set on Chick-Sands, because guess what? It's been redlined. None of us are going. It's closing up. We're closing up shop. We're coming home because of the fall of the Soviet Union. There was no need to have all these bases in Europe, and Chick-Sands was one of the ones on the list. But don't worry, you'll get your second choice, which was fine by me, because my second choice was Hawaii.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was stationed at Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii for 4 years. That was my last tour before I got married, got out, and raised my daughter for 5 years. So.
Let me ask about the transition after the fall of the Soviet Union. I know you probably can't talk about everything, but what can you talk about in regard to where the focus was shifted?
Nowhere.
Really?
Honestly, really. It was chaos, because when I was going through tech school, the Berlin Wall was already coming down. A friend of mine who I talked to back at home kept telling me, you're going to be out of a job. we're not going to need intel anymore. You might as well pack it in and take a new job assignment because you're not going to have anything to do. And the mentality at the tech school still was focusing on Soviet Union. That's all we learned about, even though there really wasn't going to be a Soviet Union to spy on anymore. That's where they saw their focus on. Now, luckily for me, about 6 months later, Saddam Hussein decided to jump into Kuwait, which took our focus off of the fall of the Soviet Union and focused more on this little piece of land in the Middle East that we never, ever even touched on in tech school. It was like, oh, here's these countries that you will someday do that, if you're in that area of the world, but we won't focus on them. We'll focus on Russia and China. And you should have seen us at Offutt make a mad dash to try and figure out anything we could on Saddam Hussein because we knew nothing about his air defense, we knew nothing. It was basically in 1 month, learn everything you possibly can about this country that you have no idea on. And then the focus started to shift, then maybe we should start focusing on terrorism. Maybe.
And in your opinion, what has been there's obvious 9/11 and all that, but is there any other reason you think this focus has shifted to the Middle East that you've been thinking?
Mostly for, oil. That was always a running joke, is that the only reason why we even care about that part of the world is that big thing of oil.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's where a lot of the higher ups that I would talk to, is always the joke was, got to cover the oil.
Mm-hmm.
But it is where, Osama bin Laden started. It's where a lot of those groups focus on. It's the larger portion of, Muslim communities that really don't care for us. It just happens to be sitting on a bunch of oil.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I leave that to somebody higher up.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll talk about how did being a female affect you in the military? You said that your officer, when you first joined the military, was a female, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one with the crew cut?
Yeah.
That handled everything quite well?
Yep.
So,
Yeah. It varied. I learned real quick being in intelligence that you are a small group of people, that you cannot be easily offended as a female. You could not, because as I was reminded in Korea numerous times, it wasn't long ago that women were not allowed in intelligence positions and that men pretty much ruled and that they could say anything they wanted. So yeah, you got the perverted jokes and it doesn't bother me at all. I just kind of laugh it off because it doesn't offend me. If you want, you just show your intelligence by doing those jokes. So it really just, I don't care. You can do everything you want. Haha. But that's just the nature of it. And nothing was personally ever done to me. Nobody said I couldn't do my job because I was a woman. There were some times where it may have been implied, but I always did the best that I could, and I usually outperformed most of the men in my job, which kept them from saying anything else to me.
That usually shuts them up, right?
Oh yeah. And I always got to know higher ranking people than people in charge of me, so that as long as they were happy with me, my superiors, who may have been directly in my chain of command, couldn't really say anything. You learn to play the game.
Awesome. Did you earn any medals or citations of any sort during service?
Always got the good conduct medal. That standard 3-year medal. It's basically, if you keep your nose skin in the Air Force every 3 years, you'll get the good conduct medal. I got a joint accommodation medal when I left the service through NSA, because that's where I was employed by at the end. When I was in Hawaii, we indirectly worked for the National Security Agency, And they gave me this actually in the back on my desk, but it's a joint accommodation just thanking me for working with, because we worked joint service, we worked with the Army, the Navy, and the Marines at my last assignment, so we were considered a joint site, and that was just thanking me for 4 years of putting up with them.
Very nice.
But I did a lot of things I can't talk about that got me that award, so it's kind of hard to talk about it without, I can't really say everything.
Okay. What was your last day in the service like?
Hectic. It was very hectic. When I left the service, my husband had already gone on ahead to our next assignment, and he was hoping to curtail his assignment so that he could pack us out together. Unfortunately, Okinawa needed him right away, and the military said, you're in intelligence, you get a bonus, you are staying into the very last day of your enlistment. That's it. I tried to get out early, I tried to get a hardship, I tried everything. They just said, nope. And they kept me into almost the very last day. And I'm on Hawaii with a 7-month-old daughter, myself, running around to out processing assignments, trying to clear, everything that I needed to clear my badge, clear my workstation, which was at a different place than where our, everything else for the Air Force is. So I had to sit there and go back and forth around Hawaii, again, with a 7-month-old in tow. So it was not fun. Luckily I had some friends who could help me out. They helped me sell my car, they helped me box stuff up at my place. So, and then on top of it, I had to stay an extra month in Hawaii because my husband couldn't process his orders till I was out of the military entirely. So I had to wait, get out, still stay and find $1,200 to cover my cost of the apartment that we were staying in for another month while everything else fell into place for us to move overseas. Oh yeah, and switch ID cards.
Yeah.
Because I had to trade my wonderful active duty card for a nice spousal card, and luckily that was just easy. It was just a little thing in the computer.
You hear horror stories like that of people, things happening like that in the military, but I think over the years they've gotten a lot better about
it. Yeah, and it was nice. I mean, if I had just been, a regular civilian trying to do it, it would have been hard because I wouldn't know who to talk to. But since I had moved different assignments before, I knew some of what I had to do. I just didn't know the civilian side of it. What part did my husband have to do after I cleared? Because he had to become this, the signee, because I no longer had that active duty on my little ID anymore. I had to get powers of attorney from him so that I could clear through the base. Yeah, it was messed up, but at least I knew who to talk to. I knew this is if I want housing, I go to the housing office. If I want, airplane tickets, I go to, the AMC terminal. So it wasn't like I was completely lost. Which served me well when I was overseas too, is that once you were a civilian or a dependent and you get overseas and your husband's not around a lot because he's gone, who do you call? Who do you need to talk to if your car breaks down overseas? I already knew, I got to go call this person or I got to go to this base office. I wasn't the clueless little dependent that some are overseas, because I ran into those. And they'd be stressed out, and I was like, oh, no, I got it. I can tell you exactly where to go. Been there, former service, I know. Come on. So it's always nice to be able to help out other people overseas that were lost because their husband was gone.
So what did you do after you came out of the service?
Well, I went and I spent, of course we went to Okinawa. Mm-hmm. And for 5 years I was a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. And then when December, my daughter got school age, my husband said, well, what are you going to do? You have a degree in math, what are you going to do with it? I said, well, I can substitute teach. Mm-hmm. And I started doing that, and I was really good at it. And they called me almost every single day, so I worked basically as a full-time sub for an elementary school, K through 6. And the more I started working there, I realized that I liked the older kids more, and being able to use some of the math skills that I learned when I was a student, and I applied them, and I was like, wow, I can do this for a living. And a lot of the teachers I worked with were like, all you gotta do is you got a degree, just go and get a teaching certificate, you'll be great. And then we got stationed here, and I went and I found a teaching school, place to get my certificate, Western Governors University Online, and then it became, where do I want to teach? And I heard about Military Magnet through some people, and I'm like, you know what? This is an awesome school. It's military. I came and I talked to Colonel Whaley, I talked to Mr. Townsend, and I found out just by working with Mr. B a couple of times that this was the school that I had to work at. It's everything that a lot of military people hear, kind of the same type of philosophy about self-discipline and routines. We hope scheduling. Sometimes schedules aren't always routine here. But it just seemed like a perfect fit for me, coming from the military, that this would be the school that I would teach at. And I get wonderful students like, you. But I only had you for running, so.
Yes. So your military experience in the Air Force, helps you keep the kids organized and everything?
Yeah. Most of them would never make it in the real military. But yeah, just that discipline, trying to teach them how to be organized, how, just to carry themselves,
right.
to be better, citizens, I think that's what I bring. It's just, that structure, the routine, because I'm always here too. I'm never sick. They see me every day. I'm the one constant in their lives a lot of times. And they like it too. I threaten that I'm going to walk out and take a day off. They're like, no, please, Missy, please, no, we need you. We need to see you every day. And I was gone once, and they actually, the next day, they all came back and hugged me. They said, never leave us again. Don't.
Nice.
Yeah, you might want to ask her about it. Is there anything else she wants to say, and then, close by, thanking her for her service and for the interview and all that. Right.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think they pretty much covered everything that I could think of.
Awesome. Thank you for your service and for allowing me to interview you.
No problem. Thank you.